It's time to unveil our brand new segment because, we people know that we hired Mike Craven, our college football insider.
Certified good dude.
Correct. Excellent reporter, and all of these things. But I think people don't know.
The true reason.
Which is
and he's okay with us saying that's the true reason.
Is that Mike Craven is here to issue you some gambling advice in a segment we call Craven Bets. Welcome in. Time for Craven Bets with our college football insider and financial advisor, Mike Craven. Welcome to Craven's Corner. We make money on this corner.
We're going to make money on this corner.
We make money on this corner.
I've never been more excited for anything in my life.
This is exciting. This is our new college football segment on TFT, and we have an actual financial analyst here to tell you what to do with your units.
Yeah, an actual degenerate gambler.
Yes. Okay, he said it. I wasn't going to say it, but I'll agree. It's fine. And so today, we are going to get to kind of down the road, talk a little bit about the FBS game that's going on this weekend. You're going to be out there in El Paso. But today, as a warm-up, I thought we'd take a look at some over-unders, some win totals for the 12 FBS teams. So we'll start with, I think, the most robust win total, or the one that we feel the best about. Where are we starting, Pickle?
Let's start down in Houston. We are saying, according to Craven over there, Houston over 9.
Over 9 wins this year.
It feels, and this could be, we're pretty high on Houston here.
Yes.
And so for these Texas teams, sometimes you get a little too close to the woods, But 9 wins for Houston feels, pretty easily doable. I think that Texas Tech game's scary. Maybe you drop one in conference play just because it's hard to win 10 in a row, 11 in a row like they did last year. But even if they do that, that's 10-2. I think they beat UTSA. They don't have to play Cincinnati. So get into 9 wins, I think, to get a push is pretty easy. I think it's more likely they win 10 than they win 8, as long as Clayton Tune stays healthy and they can be healthy throughout the defense.
I think that's right. I agree with this one. There's others that we're not going to agree on, but this one, put your units there. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, let's head down to the Waco area. We're looking at the Baylor Bears over on 7.5 total wins on the season.
I trust Vegas. Vegas it was not built because they're full of dummies.
Yep.
Okay? I don't get this.
That's what I'm like you, right? Like when I see something and my opinion is this and Vegas's opinion is that, it makes me question myself. I'm like, man, what do they know that I don't know? I think this has to do with the amount of production they've lost, and people keep grouping quarterback into that. Like they lost their quarterback, they lost their what? Sure, but I think Blake Shapen was the better quarterback. He was the guy who started the Big 12 championship game. I think he completed 12 or 13 straight passes against that Oklahoma State defense. I think they're going to be better passing the ball. That offensive line and the way they do the wide zone, they're going to run the football no matter if I could be running back. I'm going to average 3.5 a carry. So I think they get to 8. Like the idea of Dave Aranda's team going in 7-5 this year and a down Big 12 just seems insane to me. I think they at least get to 8. In the magazine, we have them getting 9, 10.
Yeah.
So I think they clear this one pretty easily.
Yeah, this one, not to spoil the rest of the segment, this is the one I feel the best about. I feel over 7.5 feels like this, to reference an old gambling segment, free money. What's next,
We are
Pickle?
not referencing that gambling segment. We have upgraded. And speaking of upgrades, heading down to UTSA, San Antonio. How do you feel about the Roadrunners at over 8.5?
I took the over because I have to.
You put them on the cover for a reason.
right. I got to get back to San Antonio every now and then. I need my privileges. This one's tough, right? Because they play 3 games early on that is hard. Starting off with Houston at home, then you're at Army, then you're at Texas. It's quite possible this is the best 0-3 team in the nation, and then they would have to win out to get to that 9 wins thing. My deal here is I think they do win out. Yeah. Conference USA is not very good. So that UAB game is the only one that will be kind of a toss-up after this, out-of-conference play. I think they get one of those games. I think they can beat Army. Maybe they can upset Houston. We don't know what Texas is ever. But this one's a tough one for me.
Yeah.
But I think I'm leaning towards 9 rather than 8.
Something we'll do a lot on this is we'll compliment Vegas. 8.5 is a good line.
Yep.
8.5 is a spot-on line because you feel really good if they steal one of those first 3. You'll feel really good about over 8.5. If they don't, they start 0-3, then you have no margin for error, but they're going to be favored in the rest of their games. So.
I'm betting on Conference USA not being good.
Right. That's exactly it. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, Up 35 to Austin we go. Texas under 8.5.
Shorten the Longhorns here.
Yeah, I mean, I would not put any money on Texas being 9-3. Like, can you?
Yeah.
Can you? I mean, I can see, like, if somebody from the future came and told me Texas won 10 games, I'll believe it.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting my money on it.
Yeah.
You know, so until we know what Quinn Ewers is, until we know what that offensive line is, until we know what that defense is, right? Like, that was like a historically bad defense last year. I just don't see the consistency to bet on 9. I think they lose to Oklahoma. I think they lose to Alabama, Baylor, Oklahoma State. That puts them at 8-4 right there.
Right.
So it's hard for me to see Texas getting to 9. They have the talent to do it, but you know they've been inconsistent for over a decade now.
They're going to be a really interesting team, I think, whenever like game lines come out, because there's always a lot of money on Texas, both you know on them and shorting them, and so those lines tend to move, and it'll be very interesting to keep an eye on. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, we continue our trek up I-35, and we hit SMU over 7.5 for the Ponies.
This one's interesting. 7.5 feels spot on again, especially when you take a look at their schedule. But 8 wins feels pretty doable for the Ponies.
Yeah, we had them 8 in the magazine, so another line that's like right there, like you said. Their schedule is easier on the back end than it's been the last couple of years. They've had kind of like the late season collapses under Sonny Dykes, but some of that was just schedule. That's when they were playing the really hard teams. I think they get to 8. This is another one that I could be talked into the under. I'd probably avoid this one, to be honest with you, just because you don't know what Rhett Lashley's offense is going to look like. What is that defense going to be with a new system, a new coordinator? But I'm more likely to see them in 8 wins than 7 wins, I think, just because the American's another conference that's like, what is it beyond Cincinnati and Houston?
And by the way, we're just doing all 12 of the FBS teams this year. In future weeks, we're just going to talk about bets that he actually likes. It's not going to be so. This would be an actual stay away, but I agree. Over 7.5 feels better than under, I think. What's next, Pickle?
Up next, we're hopping off 35 and going way out west. The Utep Miners actually playing this week. How do you feel about over 5.5?
Will UTEP make a bowl?
Yeah, I in my personal life hammered this over. Like, I have UTEP winning 7 games in the magazine. Like, they play New Mexico, they play New Mexico State, they still have Rice. I think they beat North Texas this weekend. You know, we're already at 4. You know, they only need 2 more. I think UTEP's going to be really good. They have their quarterback back. Their running backs are back. 4 out of their starting offensive linemen. That front 7's excellent. Again, Conference USA, so it's not like a murderer's row. They do have a decent out-of-conference schedule with Boise State and Oklahoma, but this program has some momentum. They're going to sell out the Sun Bowl. They're feeling good. Dana Dimel's back. I just don't see them going 5-7 a year after winning 7 games.
That feels about right to me. What's next, Pickle?
Staying out west, we're going to Texas Tech. Brand new head coach Joey Mcguire. How do you feel about the first season going over 5.5?
This one's scary.
I don't like this one.
Yeah.
I'm on the other end.
Yeah, no, I can see it. I mean, 5-7 is because of that schedule. Like, they play a tough schedule. North Carolina State on the road, who's going to be really good. They're hosting Houston, who has some revenge on their mind after blowing that first half lead last year. A lot of Big 12 games are pretty tough on the road. So I think they get a bump because Joey Mcguire has everybody believing that. Like, you ask those people in the locker room, they think they're going 12-0.
Yeah.
Like, and they're not lying about it.
Yeah.
Like, they firmly believe that. They went 6-6 last year. They were able to pull it off last year in the midst of a coaching change, an interim coach, and all that kind of stuff. I know the schedule's tougher this year, but if I have to make a bet, I'm going 6-6 rather than 5-6.
I think for me, I'm looking at this. I think there's a fair argument that they're going to be a better team with a worse record.
Sure.
Like, that feels like the most likely scenario is they're very clearly moving in the right direction, but they finish 5-7 or something like that. So, what's next, Pickle?
Back to Fort Worth we come now. The Horned Frogs. Again, another new head coach in Sonny Dykes. Curtin took under 6.5.
Yeah, well, we talked about this when we did speed dating. You want to talk about a high variance team? Yeah, I could see them going 3-9. I could see them going 9-3.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, and I'm starting to see a lot of people I respect in the gambling space hammering TCU over 6.5, right? Which gives me some pause, because usually like guys like Bud Elliott and stuff like that, it's like, man, he knows what he's talking about. It's just the first year kind of transition. Like, they lost Zach Evans. I don't know what their offensive line is going to be. They say it's a strength, but who knows, right? That defense was really, really bad last year. I mean, they gave up over 6 yards a carry, 34 rushing touchdowns. I don't know if you can fix that in one offseason. And so for me, it's going to be an inconsistent team where TCU can beat anybody on their schedule, but they can lose to almost anybody on their schedule. 6-6 feels about right.
Yeah, I think that's probably kind of splitting the difference there, and 6-6 feels right. What's next?
Let's head back down south. We're going to Texas State. You took the over on 4.5, which I feel like could be a little controversial with how the things have gone so far.
I mean, if they were to win 5 games, that'd be the most wins they've had in a minute,
Since 2014.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, the 4.5 just seems low.
Yeah.
Like, I think they're a better team this year. They're going to be better at quarterback with Lane Hatcher. They're going to be better running the football. They say they're going to be better in the front 7 defensively, rushing the passer. They're moving some guys around to get more edge rushing. I think this program's moving in the right direction. I'm a Jake Spavital believer. I like what he's doing in the transfer portal. I think it fits what they can do budget-wise at Texas State. This is another one where they've gone 4-8 before. I think they're better. So in a Sun Belt West that's pretty bad, like the East is good.
Yes.
The Sun Belt East is good, but the Sun Belt West is winnable. Maybe not even winnable, but second place is up there. I think they get to 5 wins. I really do. I think they get to 5 wins.
That everyone can agree that if they don't, then that's where the Spav train might be ending.
Right, 100%. 100%. If they don't get to at least 5 wins, I think even 6 wins, there's going to be some conversations happening in San Marcos, and there probably should.
Yeah, exactly right. What's next, Pickle?
Down back to the Houston area we go. Hoot, the Rice Owls over 3.5.
I'm sorry. This is a team won. How many games Rice won last year?
4.
4. I think Rice is going to be better than they were last year. Over 3.5 feels like, I mean, the schedule's tough. Schedule's tough.
Sure.
You got Texas on the schedule. That's automatic out.
USC.
USC, Houston. There's 3 losses there. I think over 3.5 is very doable.
It's again, the Conference USA isn't that great. They're going to steal 1 or 2 there. They won 4 games last year, and they lost 2 in overtime. So they were 2 overtime losses away from being 6-6. They're better this year. They are. They're a better football team. Now, does that get them to 6 wins? I don't think so. I think 5-7 is about what we had them in the magazine. But I think they absolutely get to 4. This is just the average better, not knowing anything about Rice, assuming that they're bad and throwing the under there. If they made it 4.5. Now that gets interesting, right?
Yeah.
They need money to even it out, so 3.5 feels like you can get some money on the other side of the Owls.
I think that's right. What's next, Pickle?
Let's talk some big boy football here. Texas A&M, and you're going under 9.
Under 9. I think they're going to go 9-3. That's the issue.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's like, it was 9.5. I'm sorry, under 9.5. That I feel better
That's
about.
the key.
That's the key. I would, if it was 9, buy the hook and hit the under.
Yep.
You know what I mean? But
100%.
but under 9.5 feels like that's the play.
Yeah, I mean, until A&M proves that it has 1, a quarterback, and 2, consistency enough to win in the SEC week in and week out. Because they, like, last year's the perfect Texas A&M Jekyll and Hyde season to me, right? Like, they went 8-4, but lost 4 conference games, and one of those wasn't even to Alabama.
Yeah.
So like that SEC schedule's tough. It's tough week in and week out. You don't get any breaks. 9.5 seems like you're betting on A&M winning 10 games. They've never done that, like, in most of our lifetime.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a while. Like, I guess Manziel's team
year
won 10 games that first year they were in the SEC. But since then they've lost at least 3 conference games every single year.
Yeah.
Except for the 2020 pandemic year. So you're betting on A&M to do something that they've only done with a Heisman Trophy quarterback on campus. They don't have that this year, right? So I'm going to bet on the SEC and the under.
All right. And what's next, Pickle?
And finally, we end up in Denton.
There we go.
Taking North Texas. That's supposed to be under. I put the wrong graphic in again on that. But let's go North Texas.
I was going to say.
Under 6.5.
That's your
there we go.
That's your alma mater talking right
Yeah,
there.
exactly. She's like,
maybe I squeezed that in for a reason.
She's gaslighting us.
Right.
I'm like, I will change
Six
their
and
mind.
6.5. I like North Texas. I probably like North Texas more than most people. 6.5 feels rich to me.
For the same reason I had to take the over on UTSA, I had to take the under on North Texas, like it's just part of it, just to make Pickle mad, even though she messed up the graphic and made it over.
Remember who's running the computer over here, right?
But yeah, a lot of it comes down to this game against El Paso.
Yeah.
If North Texas wins this game, week 0, they're going to get to 6.5, 7. They're going to get to 7 wins. They lose this game, I think 6-6, about as good as they can hope for. They started Austin Ani again, and we could get to October, November, and I could be dead wrong, and I'll admit it anywhere that I talk, right? But with Austin Ani as the quarterback, I feel like we know what North Texas' offense looks like, and it's going to be average. And you're betting on that defense to be really, really good again. I just don't see a 5-game winning streak to kind of close the year. If I got to go 7 or 5, I'm picking, or 7 or 6, I'm picking 6 for North Texas.
I think that's probably the safer pick. Okay, so in an average week, we're going to go through, and you're going to have some plays that you like on Texas college games. There is one game this week.
Yeah.
You're going to be out there in El Paso, UTEP and North Texas. Last I saw, I believe it opened. North Texas was a 1-point favorite. And now, has it steamed all the way to UTEP?
Yeah, well, it's pick 'em. Last I
pick 'em.
saw. Pick 'em last time. I think it'll be UTEP -1 by the time kickoff comes around. Just feel like the smart money is going to come in on the home team. This is a really even game. UTEP's won the last 2. Austin Ani's played well in both of those games. You know, he threw 5 touchdowns against UTEP in 2020. He hasn't thrown an interception in 2 starts against UTEP. He hasn't been sacked in 2 starts against UTEP. Still, I think at home with the sellout, Gavin Hardison returning at quarterback, the defensive line, that front 7 being so good, I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a fun game out in West Texas. But I think UTEP wins, you know, by a field goal or a touchdown. North Texas has won the last 2, but by a combined 5 points, right? These have been close games. I think it's another close game, but I'm going to lean towards the home team.
So then, assuming if this was a normal Craven Bets segment, would you have a play for this one?
Yeah, I like UTEP. I like UTEP a lot this year. And this week, it's kind of like, it's weird to say this about a week 0 conference game, but we're going to learn a lot about both teams, all right? Like, this kind of dictates whether UTEP's going to reach those expectations they're all thinking that they're going to get to this year. But if they lose at home to start the year against what we're all thinking is an average North Texas team, that resets that out there, right? So I think the momentum of week 0, them kind of knowing who they are a little bit more, I think for UTEP, this is the right time to play North Texas. North Texas is going to be better in week 8 than they are in week 0. I think UTEP wins this game.
It's the week 0 edition of Craven Bets here from Craven's Corner, because on this corner,
we make money.